Reese. The ride back to Sheeta is relaxing. Skrion is steering the giant turtle while Clone is messing with the crystal, twisting it between her fingers. I'm starting to get Clone's obsession. I want to know what it does. I head over to her. She's facing some shelves near a map, staring at a bowl full of crystals, the same size and shape as the one she's messing with. What do those crystals do? I ask. Clone. I can't explain that these crystals are used to knock out sacrifices should a problem arise.
It is heavily advised that you don't.
But I can't explain the navigation record crystal.
You just like showing off.
I do. These ones are decorations.
Not mere decorations?
I don't need to clarify that. Nice to look at, but not particularly interesting, I say, carefully placing the crystal back in the bowl. I pick up the navigation record crystal from the display next to the bowl. Now this one is a bit more interesting. I toss it into the center of the room.
The crystal glows and a projection of Pagos appears. After a moment, projections of all the Akus appear on the map, simplified symbols in each of their respective colors. A white dotted path appears, twisting around the curvature of the planet, connecting all of the Akus together, showing the main path they travel. Finally, our Serpens and its path appears, a small dark dot followed by a trail depicting its movements over the most recent seasonal cycle.
Whoa, Reese whispers. She approaches the map
and traces the main path with her finger.
Before stepping back, is that Pagos? It is. I explain the different marks on the map.
And Reese nods.
That's a lot, she says. And that's not everything, I say, activating the Serpentis depiction settings.
Dark serpens-like shapes slither across Pagos, leaving dotted trails behind them.
Each of those marks represents a serpens. Yeah, you can turn that off, Reese says,
looking away. She doesn't seem particularly thrilled to know how many giant snakes there are.
Not a fan?
Nope. She shakes her head and turns back to the map.
Her artificial scent wavers.
She's staring at it like she's trying to solve a puzzle.
Something wrong? I ask. Sorry, I just don't see what's the purpose of this, she says. I mean, it's cool to see all the Akus in the general migration period. I know Trevor would love the color coding. She pauses a moment. It's just, I don't know. Why would you ever need this? Like, in what situation would you ever use it? If you're in the giant snake, driving it, shouldn't you know where it's been? And judging by the size of the planet, you don't need to worry about the snakes running into each other. And if that is a concern, why isn't this always open? Skrion.
There's a reason those crystals are next to one another.
Clone has thought this through. Clone.
No answer?
Why did you design them this way?
Might have something to do with why we put them next to the ones that knock out most life forms.
Except you blubberts, for some reason. You could have warned me before I started explaining this.
I considered that, if that helps.
Of course you did. There are archaic crystals that haven't been used in ages, I answer.
Well, that's not entirely false. They haven't been used in quite a while.
You're a treasure.
Okay,
Reese answers.
Still confused.
I'm aware. They were used before the maps could be projected directly into our minds while we drive, I explain.
Reese's eyes light up.
The confusion disappears. So there was a breakthrough in crystal technology. Do they happen often? She asks. Never.
Not in your lifetime.
Yours?
Can't recall any.
Unfortunately, no. There hasn't been one in my lifetime, I say. Reese's artificial scent gets a bit stronger. She's saddened by this.
Not really sad. More sympathetic.
I see. That sucks.
At least she's not confused anymore.
Clone. Reese is easy enough to distract during the last part of the trip, and soon enough, we're back at Sheeta. Reese tries to object when Skrion offers to handle my work at the crevice, but Skrion insists we head back to the house. Okay, Reese agrees. Is there anything you need us to do back at your place? Just rest a bit before we head off to the next Aku, and make a substantial meal, Skrion says,
giving you a pointed look.
Before she heads off to the crevice? Reese doesn't seem too pleased with that answer. So, Reese starts. You have any board games at your house?
Someone must have made something like that.
Maybe, I answer. Someone I should know the name of?
Scran would be mildly disappointed that you don't.
Do you know who works on games in the cultural center?
Maybe.
Never mind. Do you have any cool crystals at your house? She asks.
You're smiling.
I think someone else's perspective could be useful.
You seem certain she'll provide perspective. She might just want to look at sparkly things.
She can't be more useless than the first additional perspective I got.
I think I have provided very valuable input.
I have every type of crystal my kind knows about back home, I say. Which one do you want to see first? Reese's sense spikes.
She's thrilled.
I'll take your recommendation, she says. Perfect. I have plenty.
Too many, some would say.
Reese. Once we get back to their house, Clone hands me Blueberry and tells me to wait while she gets the crystals. I sit down and give Blueberry belly rubs while I wait for Clone to return. She comes back with a chest and places it down on the table in the main room. It's full of crystals in a variety of different shapes and sizes. Yeah, this is definitely an obsession that I'm enabling. Clone sits down next to me on the couch and begins going through the crystals, placing a few on the table next to the box. Blueberry squirms out of my grip to snuggle up between us. Which one do you want to know about first? She asks as she continues looking through the box. I'm not sure, I say. It's overwhelming. Can I go through them, see if any catch my eye? Of course, she says, pushing the chest closer to me. I reach into the chest and begin rummaging through the crystals, carefully, trying to find one I recognize. Clone.
Is letting her lead the conversation really the best idea?
I want to see what catches her interest. If I lead the discussion, she might become caught up in my thought process.
Is that your most pressing concern?
What does this one do? Reese asks.
She picked up a diamond-shaped crystal, a crystal that creates illusions. Just how will you explain that?
Good question.
Good answer.
I see them around Sheeta. Reese says.
Complicating things.
I want her to speak her mind. It's easier to handle. They're all over the buildings, and they're at the tops of the poles in the area surrounding the town. She clarifies.
Because you're taking too long to answer.
They are crystals that create illusions, I answer.
Oh. Bold.
Really? They're a popular decoration. In the old days, before the reformed Book of Fetus, the people of the Akus would make charms to ward away evil. Back then, as written in the original Book of Fetus, the charms were made from minerals found around the Akus. They, how do I put this, weren't the most effective method of protection.
They basically confirmed that a group of followers had claimed the Aku, and your ancestors wondered why they were constantly attacked.
So they did nothing. Reese asks. They made people feel better.
That's certainly nothing. Sometimes that can be everything.
So, mostly nothing. Reese says.
As most creatures would.
Mostly.
You agree? Reese nods. She stares at the crystal, as you stare at her.
So do the ones made of crystals do anything? Reese asks.
Turning to you.
What do you think? I ask.
What answer are you expecting?
Considering the crystals make illusions, Reese says, I have my suspicions. Would you like to share them?
Reese turns back to the crystals. She puts her hand over her mouth. She's muttering. Would you like to hear her piece together her theory?
I'll wait to hear what she has to say. I think they hide places. They make it so that... She starts and pauses.
Carefully.
Carefully. The intruders can't see where you are. She continues. Or make it look like the settlements are somewhere else.
Essentially, they can't see, but basic principle.
Correct, I say.
And that was their main purpose in the beginning. They don't work like that anymore now that those intruders have a complete enough understanding of the situation. They still manage to perform their original task, though.
Do you want me to elaborate?
That's a question.
Obviously. What convinced you guys to start making them out of crystals? Reese asks. She sounds worried.
She looks worried.
I mean, I get why you didn't do it originally. Reese says.
Quickly.
Too quickly. You value the text. I get it. It's important and... Reese, I interrupt her. She stops. It's fine. I wasn't offended. It's a good question. It just didn't make sense to me for a moment. I forgot there's still so much you don't know about Pagos. Oh, good, Reese says, sounding relieved. What am I missing? Why, the Reformation occurred, I answer. The text was reformed because we received a gift from Thetis, a gift that served as both permission to, and the ability to, reform the text, and trap us in that reformation.
You could let half of Sheeta die, and never trade with the other Akus again. You're really going to make her ask what the gift is?
Yes. Who is Thetis? She asks.
She's asking about Fetus. She is, even though she's figured out the answer. This is why we should phase out mythology once we're introduced.
And you call me lazy.
My general laziness does not negate your selective laziness.
Thetis is one of our deities, I answer, and the gift was the blubberts.
Bringing her back to the main topic.